Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of October 13th to October 19th. How are y'all doing? How are you feeling going into this week? How has October felt to you so far? Are you starting to feel the relief? Are you starting to see the glimmers of the new? There's so much in the atmosphere. And whenever it comes to the energy around the next 2 weeks, it feels intoxicating. It feels like a frequency is being tuned into. Now, when I think of frequency in this regard, I'm thinking of the good old fashioned rabbit ears. So if you were young, ask your parents, ask your grandparents, tuning in those little rabbit ears, trying to add an extra bit with the aluminum foil of, no, if I get it just right, it'll get the picture come in. There's a static, but I can see the lines. I can hear part of the voices on the programming. Just tune it in a little bit more. I can feel it coming. And I think a lot of you are in the same mentality. You can feel something coming. You can feel the shift in the energy. You can feel something changing. You're working on certain things, and the things that you're working on, that you're talking about, that you're working towards, the groundwork that you are laying, it just kind of feels right. For others, there's a hesitancy because the thing that is starting to come through, oh my God, it feels so risky. We've had so much going on this year already. Why would we need something else that's going to be risky? Why do we want something else that's going to put something into jeopardy? Why would we want to try something now? This doesn't feel like the right time. This doesn't feel like the right effort. What is it about right now? And I am letting you know that there is a need for risk this week for some people. We got a couple things that are happening this week. One, we will start the week off with Venus going into Libra and Pluto ending its retrograde. Venus going into her own home sign is another level of alignment. We'll have two planets in their own home signs. Mars has been in Scorpio for a couple of weeks now, and we're gearing up for a very specific set of Mars transits that I've already been harping about since the beginning of the month. And two, now Venus. Jupiter is in its exaltation, and Jupiter is starting to slow down. But in this slow down energy, we have other transits starting to happen specifically this week. Jupiter is going to square the sun. Now, that is a common transit. We have one once a year, no big deal. Where Jupiter's in the higher authority, that's why I'm saying once. If we don't count higher authorities, technically we get two a year, but that's a different conversation. But Jupiter is in the higher authority of this particular square. Jupiter is in its exaltation, but there's another player on the mat, on the board, in the game, and it's the player we don't normally give credit to. Chiron. Chiron has been perfecting its square with Jupiter all month, but this week will hit its 1 degree range of a square, and it'll be the first in a series of three. A series of three that will take us into something new as a part of 2026. We got a lot of new in 2026. So I am harping on that, and I have been warning for a while. But now we're in, like, again, tuning in some frequencies, trying to make the picture come in as to something new. Now, in a normal aspect between Jupiter and the sun, there is this hope energy. There is support. There is hope. There is a push, a turn in luck, but a turn in luck that requires risks. It requires jumping through a few hoops. It requires checking a few things that we wouldn't normally do. And I'm one of those people that I tell you that whenever certain risks come up, like, hey, this is a test. I'm telling you, The test is necessary this time around. The risk is necessary to be able to get through the test. Now, a lot of the rest of 2025 is a mix of new and old simultaneously. I've already said this before. I feel like part of the frequency tuning in is doing more pulling in of the old while also really showing need for why the new needs to change, needs to turn, needs to work in a certain way. And with the element of Chiron being included in a square to Jupiter, while Jupiter is squaring the sun, therefore Chiron is opposing the sun. The only way to heal is to take the risk, to try to do the things that we wouldn't normally do. We have to put in an effort. We have to think about something that we would normally put weight into. If you are a controlling person, you have to give up control. If you are someone that never takes risk, it's time to take a risk. It's time to try the thing that you wouldn't normally do. Because the risk is a necessary part of the testing energy throughout the rest of the year. It is a necessary part of a lesson, a final lesson that is going to start to take shape over the course of the rest of the year. And we need that final risk. We need this final lesson. We need this blast from the past where we do something a different way so we can understand two sides of one coin and make different choices in the new normal that will come in 2026. I've been meditating on this energy all weekend. And the more I meditate on it and I think of the risk factor that needs to happen and the human way that it shows up in my chart, in my life, that human effects, so to speak, as well as how I'm seeing it show up in other people's lives, the little inklings of something now. There is necessity with where we're going next. And you can either lean into the lesson so we can finally learn the last ones, or we dampen our ability to continue to grow and to do the thing that we're going into next. Risk is necessary. Now, for some people, the risk is intoxicating. And I really mean we have to do the thing that we wouldn't normally do. We have to try in a way that we wouldn't normally try. But for some people, the trying is restraint. And I got to be super clear on that part too. If you would normally push something forward, when certain things pop up, when things are going on in someone's life where you would normally push or you would interfere, I am telling you to do the opposite. If certain things pop up and you would normally go save, 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 no, 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 no. I am telling you to do the opposite. There's something necessary for us to learn the lesson, to do something that we wouldn't normally do. And whatever the opposite is, has the ability to present itself between this week and next week. There's a lot of opportunity here. There is something new on the horizon. And there's kind of, again, like a buildup to the new, but the buildup doesn't feel like this amping energy, like whenever we're going into a full moon. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels very solid. It feels very sure. It feels very necessary. For other people, it's going to feel a little underhanded. For other people, it's going to feel almost nostalgic. There's something familiar. And a lot of this week is pushing us into something tuning us into something. There is something in the frequency. There is something in the water. There's something in your food. There's something amping you to try something. And I would normally warn against, hey, whenever we have these certain moments, hey, like you need to be aware you're getting grabbed by the energy. I'm telling you to get grabbed. I'm telling you to lean into it. I'm telling you it's necessary. Now, the thing about the Chiron Jupiter square, it doesn't go exact this week. It goes exact next week. The thing about that is it's going to be the first in the series of 3, but it's not the only transit we're building to. At the end of the week, we will be at the very beginning stage of the Mercury-Mars conjunction. And it too is the first in a series of 5 that will encompass the next 6 months. Yay. There's something about the commitment. There is something about the disruption. There is something about the action. There is something about the maneuvering. There is something about the presentation. There is something about the conversation, the communication, the agreements, whatever is coming to light in the first Mercury-Mars conjunction that will go exact for some of us October 19th, for others October 20th. It's in the midnight hour time frame. So it's like right after midnight going into the 20th for me, but for a lot of other people, it's going to be on the 19th. So I'm giving you both dates. There is a commitment of sorts. There is an argument of sorts. There is a disruption of sorts. There is a decision of sorts that is very, very necessary. And if we add that layer into the Sun, Jupiter, Chiron triple show that it is, I'm telling you that the risk is necessary. I am telling you that telling someone off when you wouldn't normally do it is necessary. I am telling you the decision that presents itself, the thing that we need to do, the commitment needs to happen a certain way. That also means worst case scenario, because I am talking about Mars transits, the disruption is also necessary. Mars is the god of war. Blood, gore, action, fighting, tension. Mars is the god of war. And he is a big player in this vibration this week. The disruption is necessary to push something forward. You should, big word right there, should know your behavior. Know how you would normally act. You should know if you're not willing to take risk. You should know if you are the person that would jump in front of a moving vehicle because you got told no. This week, listen to the no, because that would be doing the opposite. This week, if you would normally hide from a situation, I'm telling you, it's necessary to not do that. It's opposite week. And there's a reason for that vibration. And it's not just this week. Again, I'm going to say it again. It's the week's vibration between now and next week. But a lot of where we're at this week is tuning into whatever opposite we need to look at, that we need to consider, that we need to choose. There's a reason to do the other thing. I need people to understand that. I need people to realize that, because I'm one of those people that I use the astrology to understand the layers of everything, knowing that certain things will always come back around to kind of bite you in some way, or they will always come back around to show you why a lesson was necessary. And I am telling you right now, whatever is about to unfold these next 2 weeks, the lesson is necessary. The risk is necessary. Learning to keep your trap shut if you would normally be the loud one is necessary. It's time to do something opposite than what we would normally do. And the opportunity to do that presents itself between this week and next week. Okay. I did not cover nearly as much as I would normally want to cover. However, I kind of just want to get into the transits and I want to focus on everything that's coming through. And I might put a little bit more emphasis in the closing. So let's get into it. Monday the 13th. We are starting this day with the moon being in Cancer between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. So you can see I got it at 1:30. The moon at 13 degrees, 57 minutes is entering a trine with Mars, 14 degrees, 17 minutes. This is going to go exact closer to that 2 a.m. marker, but you can see it right here, water to water. We have some kind of flow. We have something that requires healing. We have certain things that have been going on below the surface, finding their way to the top. For some people, that is going to be very, very helpful. For other people, that is going to be very, very disruptive because it is a Mars transit. What I love about this moment is it is the moon in the moon's home sign while Mars is in its home sign. So sometimes we just have to be the person that understands why someone else acts the way that they do, thinks the way that they do, talks the way that they do. We have to understand where somebody is coming from while also understanding or providing emphasis as to why we are coming from where we're coming from. Now, human effect, this is happening between 1 and 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. For some people, this is going to be a part of the late night Sunday conversations. For other people, this is going to have a hand in the things that start to take the course throughout the day on Monday. And we got a lot of transits as we continue through Monday. So let's keep this going. We're going to bump it a few hours into the afternoon, actually. Now, what's going to be interesting is all throughout these hours going into the afternoon, Venus is wrapping up its trip through Virgo. And for some people, the mentality of something, the conversations around something, the necessity of something could be that we need to get something completed. For other people, it's like we're preparing for something to begin. And that really kind of comes down to how you are handling Venus. If you are handling more Venus in Virgo vibration, then some parts of you realizes something needs to be done. For others, if you are more leaning into that Libra axis, you know that something is about to begin. And here you go, 4:30 p.m. We just got past it. Venus is now in Libra. Now, the interesting thing is about as soon as Venus goes into Libra, is she starts this opposition to Neptune. It is not exact yet. It'll go exact in a couple more hours. But what I think is interesting is upon this entry of Venus going into Libra, and starting this opposition to Neptune is this condition between the moon and Jupiter. Now, the moon and Jupiter, they're actually going to go into a conjunction between 6 and 8 p.m. So I got this here at 6:30. You can see the moon here, 23 degrees, 39 minutes. Here is Jupiter, 23:50. There is a meeting. There is an understanding. There is an energy of an arrival for some people. There is the need to teach someone something, but it's teaching them something old. Why do I say old? Because I'm looking at the condition of Venus in this opposition to Neptune. For some people, there is the ability to teach someone something from the past, how they can do something in their healing process, moon conjunct Jupiter. For other people, it is going to be teaching them about stuff that they don't know about. For other people, it is telling them the stuff that they don't know about. Here's the thing about Neptune. Neptune can have, in the negative impact, areas that focus on lies, fraud, deception. For other people, it is going to be about the inspiration and the artistry and the creativity. For other people, it can be about the spirituality. For other people, Neptune can have to do with medications, treatments, vices. Vices is a real loose term because that could be anything from the stuff that goes up the nose, the stuff that people put into their arms, or gambling, like vices. Neptune. For some people, the Venus-Neptune opposition is going to bring the negative impact. And the moon-Jupiter is, again, teaching someone, letting someone know, giving support in another way that there has been negativity afoot, making this very YouTube, Spotify, God friendly. There you go. Sorry. For other people, This energy right here is going to be creative. It is going to be necessary for healing. It is going to be supportive. For other people, it's even going to be nostalgic. It really kind of comes down to how well you have been dealing with Neptune and Aries, because for some people, this has been the lies, fraud, deception. Well, for other people, it has been things towards the medication, the healing. For others, it has been that spirituality, creative energy. So, how have you been dealing with Neptune here? Because Venus newly arriving into Libra tells me something new is in the horizon. Something new is coming through. Someone new is coming through, and it triggers a certain amount of confusion. You can be learning in a meeting, Moon conjunct Jupiter. Yes, I know this is 6:30 at night. Humor me. It could be a phone call. You could be learning some supportive thing from somebody that you consider a doctor, a guru, a teacher, that something is about to begin. Something is being approved. Something is going to arrive in a way for us to fix prior decisions. And that's another layer of how this can kind of come through. Okay, so again, we have the moon conjunction to Jupiter. This is going to last roughly until about 8 p.m. between 8:11 and 8:30. So I'm going to bump this now to 8:30. That's when Venus will hit its exact opposition to Neptune. So we're in this vibration all afternoon, all evening. We're in this energy. If you're having a hard time focusing on something whenever it comes to Monday, it's the Neptune vibration. If we are having a hard time trying to put something forward or turn something around or get something going, that's the Neptune energy. If you are feeling like something is too good to be true, that can also be this Venus Neptune energy, just to be clear. It can be a very romanticized, blinding kind of energy, but also hopeful. And it can be one of those little extra parts of the week that inspire the risks that we want to take, the things that we want to move into. So let's be clear about that. All right, we're moving along. We're in the Venus Neptune energy all day, basically. It's the most exact right here in the evening time. The other thing that is starting to go exact right here with the Venus Neptune is Chiron square to the moon. Now, this is going to be the most exact around 9 p.m. So we're going to feel it between 8 and 10 p.m. And the interesting thing about this is in the same time frame at 9:52 p.m. So I'm going to put it kind of all together. I'm going to bump it to 10:30. Pluto turns direct. Pluto's retrograde ends. Where we have previously had fear, where we have previously found a power struggle, where we have previously been frustrated with something, we have the ability to overcome it. We have the ability to turn it around. Now, if you are fixed signs, so Aquarius rising, obviously you're feeling this. This is Pluto turning direct in your first house. And this is the first time that you're dealing with Pluto turning direct into your first house. This can impact Aquarius risings in a very heightened state. Scorpio risings, this can also impact you too, especially whenever it comes to your family situations, because this is your chart ruler, one of them, turning direct in the fourth house. Taurus risings, you can also be dealing with this, but also having a lot of haze and confusion as to like what your purpose is with something, since Venus is in this opposition to Neptune while Pluto is turning direct. For Leo risings, you can be dealing with this in both the sibling, family, home life sense, cousin sense, this type of thing, while also dealing with this in a relationship sense. I'm putting a little emphasis here because there is this turn in energy with Pluto is allowing for something to finally turn around. But I don't know that everybody's going to be able to feel that in the moment. Some people will actually spend the evening kind of in a spiraled energy of trying to release something. And the only way you might be able to release it is to have the vice, so to speak. It is to have that extra thing that we wouldn't normally turn into. It might require a drink. It might require something else. It might require a distraction. Put on the music and just try to tune into something else. There might be extra need. And given the Chiron moon square happening simultaneous to Pluto turning direct with this Venus Neptune going on, there might be extra need to understand past wounds so we can finally let go of the fear. So we can finally let go of the power struggle. So we can finally let go of something. Now, I will be clear, whatever is going on Monday between the moon Jupiter conjunction and this Chiron moon square, this can also give foreshadowing to the full elements of whatever's going on between Jupiter and Chiron. So I really want you to tune into things on Monday, but I don't want you to expect fireworks per se. But again, the news, arrival, inklings, direction, a theme, an itch into a direction, just to be clear. Okay. Between 11 p.m. on the 13th, so I'm going to bump this down to 11:30, the moon is going to go through a trine with Saturn. Now, this is going to start around 11 p.m. on the 13th. It is going to continue until 1 a.m. on the 14th. So for some people, this is still all a part of Monday evening. For other people, this is going to be a part of the Tuesday vibration. Saturn in this higher authority in this trine, but Saturn is retrograde. So we're going over something from the old. We're talking to an elder. We're talking to an authority figure. We are talking about an old responsibility. We're thinking about something from the past. We are recapturing something that could go back a couple of months, all the way to the beginning of the year. For some of us, it can go back a little bit further, and I have layers as to why I'm saying that. But if you are kind of stuck in the past and then that level of nostalgia, considering the Venus-Neptune opposition is still very, very active while the moon is going through this trine with Saturn, I would not be surprised. Again, a lot of things can have to do with past responsibilities, past decisions, things with our elders, old bosses. There's something about the old just as much as what's going on in the new that is playing into this vibration. Saturn being retrograde and being this element of authority figures and laws and things along these lines, it can have to do with past decisions for sure. Again, this is going to start around 11 p.m. on the 13th. It will continue us into the 14th. For some people, the Saturn trine with the moon is going to be completely on the 14th. For others, it is going to be a part of the 13th, 14th, like me. Okay. Be aware of this vibration. Be aware of this energy. Be aware of, like, not beware, but be aware. It's more of what I'm saying as to like what's kind of unfolding. If we're stuck in something from the past, if we're talking about, again, something that our mom did, going back down those old wounds. Again, a lot of this energy is showing you something from the past so we can again do something different this time around. And whatever's coming through in your downloads, whatever's coming through from the past, whatever's coming through in this vibration, the only way to end the power struggle, Pluto turning direct, because that happened that late part of Monday. Now we're on Tuesday, but it's still a part of this vibration. And it will come up again later in the day as we continue into Tuesday. How we end the power struggle is to understand something from a different perspective, from a different way. Let's continue. Okay. Now, as we get into the morning time at 5:48 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm bumping this now to 6:30, the moon is going to go into Leo. Now, the moon going into Leo is really interesting, given the condition of the sun. The sun is in its fall in Libra. It's not necessarily in the happiest of places. It is in this area that kind of, again, speaks to compromise, of not doing the most confident thing. Or if certain people are having attention on them, they're not necessarily the happiest about this attention. It's very easy to get something put onto you and being kind of indifferent in the moment. And once the moon goes into Leo, for the next 2 days of the moon in Leo, there can be some things that almost shake our confidence in certain ways, or have some level of opportunity again come to light. Because what's going to go on over the next 2 days while the moon is in Leo is the sun is going to be building to its square to Jupiter and that opposition to Chiron. And in the buildup comes that level of light, come certain opportunities, come certain things that speaks to our confidence, even if we're not immediately in a confident energy. And considering as soon as the moon goes into Leo, it's going into a trine from Neptune, a sextile from Uranus, and that opposition to Pluto. Right after Pluto turned direct, whatever was going on Monday evening is still a part of the vibration as we go through the day on Tuesday. So be aware of that. Okay. We're going into this energy. Now, again, the moon is now in Leo. The first thing it's going to do is it's going through a trine from Neptune. So you can see Neptune 0 degrees, 11 minutes. Here's the moon. This is being felt the most exact between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. We have a series of transits that are going to happen just kind of right one after the other as we go into Tuesday morning, which tells me some of us can be kind of waking up feeling a little foggy, feeling a little hazy, and being hit by certain things that we didn't know were coming through, or we didn't fully understand the full capacity of certain things. And there can be some things that are exciting for some, unexpected for others, not necessarily planned, or if they were planned, it's not that the planning had a date. It was just kind of more along the lines of like, yeah, we talked about it, but I didn't know anything was set in stone yet. And that can kind of come through this vibration. So let's keep going through the morning. Neptune's trine with the moon is going to be again between 5 and 7 a.m. We can have the confusion. We can have the lies, fraud, the deception. We can have the nostalgia. Again, whatever was kind of going on the night before, I kind of feel like it's still very much in this vibration since Neptune is still in that opposition to Venus. We're going to keep it going. The moon will actually go through a sextile to Venus and Uranus simultaneously. This is going to be felt the most exact, basically between 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. So I've got this now at 8:30. Here is the moon. Here's Venus. Actually, let's bump that back to 7:30. Here we go. Here's the moon, 0 degrees, 57 minutes. Here is Venus at 0 degrees, 47. Here's Uranus, 0 degrees, 52. So Uranus is aspecting the moon is aspecting Venus, and we are building to this actual trine between Uranus and Venus. This is not exact yet, but it still feeds into the expect the unexpected. There can be things around our technology. There can be things that are not going to plan. There are things that can kind of pop up that kind of derail some things. There could be some excitement about something new that has kind of come into the arena, or there can be some excitement about some recent results or recent opportunities that's helping us get over certain things around a power struggle or around certain fears. Between 7 and 9 a.m., now I'm going to go and bump it back to this 8:30 time frame. The moon in Leo, 1 degree, 30 minutes, is going to hit this first opposition to Pluto. And again, Pluto is just turned direct. It's not even been 24 hours yet. Here's that first moon opposition to Pluto. There can be something about a shake, but it's like you respond differently in the shake. Some kind of test, some kind of frustration, some type of energy that we weren't necessarily anticipating. Or you are anticipating some kind of interaction, but you're not anticipating the response. And the response feels like it's different. Now that Pluto is direct, there's something about where we've been struggling with something in particular, where we are not willing to struggle with it the same way anymore. And it's like, by letting go of the frustration, by letting go of the fear, by letting go of the things that can't necessarily be understood by everybody, that we see a difference in the response, or we see how someone has changed. And it might be the first inkling of someone having a change, the first inkling of a different kind of response, of how they're letting go of something, or how they're overcoming something, or how they're not letting certain things bother them anymore. Some of you might be the person like, you're just not letting something bother you anymore. Oh, you're going to act like that? That's cool. I don't care. I don't care. That's going to leave them feeling rather confused, and that's okay because you don't care. Let's keep it going. Between 9:05 and 9:23 a.m., so still very active in the vibration that we're already in, but I'm going to bump the hour to 9:30. That is whenever Uranus, 0 degrees, 52 minutes, will go through its exact trine to Venus. Again, we're still in the same energy. This is not something extra. It's adding additional layers and emphasis to the unexpected, to the excitement, to how we're letting go of a power struggle, to some fairness, to a result. There is something here that speaks to the extra layers in the vibration. We're going to keep this going. Oh, this kind of sets the stage for how busy the entire day is going to go. And some of us are going to have like a multitude of things that we have to do, a multitude of meetings that we have to have, a multitude of people that we have to meet with, that will continue all the way until the evening time whenever we get into our next exact transit. Between 6:45 and 7:03 p.m., so I got this at 6:30, so that's close enough, Venus, 1 degree, 21 minutes, is going to go through a trine with Pluto. This is supportive energy. Understanding ideas, understanding the news, understanding the arrival, understanding the need for a change. support in the result of something. Remember what I've said before, Venus is bringing a lot of results into the vibration. There's support in the result of something. And it's like because the result finally worked in our favor, or because something has come through the way that it has alleviated pressure on another area. And that goes into that trine with Pluto. Venus in that trine with Pluto is like, I just don't have the same fears anymore. I think we can move forward. I think we can transform something. I think we can overcome something. I think we can finally let something go. I have an idea. I'm listening. And please note the listening. Please note how everything continues. Because as we get closer to the 15th, there's a couple things going on. Now we're into the 15th. One, I said this in the month ahead energy, the month ahead forecast, is once we get to the 15th, the square that we've been building to all month between Chiron and Jupiter, their degree of separation goes to one and less. So we're really activating the Chiron Jupiter square. It will not go exact until next week, but that's okay. The other thing that starts on the 15th is the exactness between the Mercury Mars conjunction. They're going to be within 3 degrees of each other. This is not going to go exact until the 20th for most of us. Some of us, it's the 19th, but the 19th is the end of this week. So there is something about how we put something into the opportunity, what we're trying to focus on, what is coming through, what risk are we feeling that we can take, what energy are we starting to get pulled into that, again, we would not normally do, that we would not normally lean into, because that feels like it's a big part of the decision as to what's coming through the vibration. And given the proximity, that is the activation of enough as we go through the 15th forward. So for the next 10 days, from the 15th to the 25th, this heightened energy with Chiron and Jupiter, we're going to be talking a lot about it. This energy with Mercury and Mars, we're really going to be talking about it until the 25th. Chiron and Jupiter can actually go longer than that, but Mercury and Mars, no. It is the most exact on the 20th. They start their exactness on the 15th. And it will continue within that 3-degree range all the way until the 25th. So be aware of the news, be aware of the decisions, be aware of the things that are coming through, because now it's in a more heightened energy. Let's keep this going. Oh, between 3:30 and 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, that is whenever the moon is going to hit a square to Mercury. So I got this now at 4:30. Here's the moon, 12 degrees, 31 minutes, hitting this square to Mercury. And again, Mercury and Mars, they're getting real close to each other. I'm going to keep harping on this, and then I'll talk a lot about it in the closing. But there can be a questioning, Mercury square Mars. There can be directions, Mercury square Mars. There can be a delivery. There can be a communication. There can be something in this Mercury square between the moon and Mercury right here that is also kind of feeding into whatever is going on with Mercury and Mars. Because the next transit that we get into, again, moon square Mercury is going to be felt the most exact between 3:30 and 6 a.m. Between 10 a.m. and noon, so I've got this now at 10:30, the moon, 15 degrees, 46 minutes, is going through its square to Mars. This is going to go exact a little bit closer to that 11 a.m. time frame, but it too can be direction and energy towards an action, a challenge of sorts. It can give an opportunity of sorts, a questioning of something. And again, Mercury and Mars are now in their 3-degree range. You can see this 12 degrees, 57 minutes, 15, 56. It's within 3 degrees. The delivery, the questioning, the opportunity in the conversation is very tightly a part of it. In addition to that, Jupiter square to the sun is also building while Jupiter is building to its square to Chiron. So there is a hopefulness. There is an optimism. There is something fueling the fire. Even if the presentation of something isn't in this moment, you can still feel the amping in the energy. You can still feel the shift, the frequency, the tuning in, the rabbit ears. You still feel it. And I want people to understand what they're feeling. Oh, Throughout the rest of the day, we're mainly dealing with the buildup of all the other energies until we get into the evening time. And in that evening time, roughly between 11 p.m. on the 15th and 1 a.m. on the 16th. So I got this at 11:30. We're going to start here. This is when the moon, 22 degrees, 46 minutes in Leo, is going to hit its sextile to the sun. So you can see this right here. This is not heavy energy, but I do like the fact that the moon is in the sun sign in the sextile, because it feels like an extra amount of energy that speaks to confidence, that speaks to the identification, that speaks to certain levels of recognition, even if people are struggling with the recognition that is being had. There are some people that are going to be struggling with some of it, but that doesn't mean that it's not a part of the vibration. There can be other things that it's like, it's giving an outside perspective, but with also levels of experience. The moon is in the sun sign going, look, I know how you feel because I've been where you're at, and I've got some advice. I've got some information. I understand what we're going through. Here is some insight. Here is some direction. Here's a possibility. Here's some recognition. There's an attaboy. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. That can also be a part of this energy too. But it also feels like there's something stewing in this energy in regards to an opportunity, a commitment, a change, an awareness of some sort. So we're going to keep it going. The moon sextile between the sun, again, it starts at 11 p.m. on the 15th. It will continue into the 16th until roughly about 1 a.m. So we got this still going on. Right after we get it past the sextile with the sun, between 2:30 and 4:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I got this down at 3:30, Chiron is hitting that trine to the moon. Something about the wounds, something about the past, something about what is necessary to heal, the levels of what we need to do to fix something, how we can turn something around, the practicality of something by allowing certain things to heal, the impacts towards confidence. This is very fire energy. Again, Chiron in Aries, the moon is in Leo. And even if we're struggling with confidence in a certain way, it's not going to be a long-term struggle, because there can be the first inklings of something, the tuning in of something that speaks to an opportunity of how we fix something for the long term. Even though if the fix itself will take months to completely unfold, there's still that opportunity towards something. So we're going to keep it going. Chiron is going to hit that trine to the moon between 2:30 and 4:30 a.m. After that, the early morning hours of the moon being in Leo, it can have a confidence boost. It can make us feel really good. I don't expect a lot of fireworks per se whenever it comes to Thursday morning, just because the moon is void. But it also means that we might not be getting a whole lot of things accomplished until we get into the afternoon. At 1:06 p.m., so I got this now at 1:30, the moon is going to go into Virgo. The moon is going into Mercury's sign as Mercury is entering its conjunction to Mars. What does Virgo rule for you? That can be important, because it can be playing into the decisions that's coming through. And now that the moon is in Virgo, it becomes our focus. It becomes our need. It becomes the necessity. It becomes a big part of whatever decision factor is coming through in the Mercury-Mars conjunction. Is it exact yet? No. Are we going to be in it in a few days? Yes. And this is why I'm saying, what does Virgo rule for your chart? Because whatever the moon in Virgo represents for you is feeding into the next round of decisions that are going to be a part of that first Mercury-Mars conjunction that sets the stage for the next 6 months of transits. Holy God, this is an important time frame. It's critical. It's logical. It's practical. It's the moon in Virgo. And for whatever happens, whenever the moon does go into Virgo, it kind of starts off with something unanticipated, something unexpected, something that adds an extra layer of excitement in certain ways, because as soon as the moon goes into Virgo, it starts its square from Uranus. We're going to get back into the transits. Okay. Now the Uranus moon square is going to go the most exact between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. So I'm not moving it from the 1:30 standpoint. Here is Uranus 0 degrees, 48 minutes. Here's the moon 0 degrees, 12. It is exact, closer to that 2:30 mark, but not fully at that. So you can see that right here. But it tells me again, we can have something that is very, very unexpected whenever it comes to parts of Thursday, that is very excited for certain people whenever it comes to parts of Thursday. And again, the moon is now in Mercury sign, and Mercury is getting closer to its conjunction to Mars. Be aware of what we're talking about, be aware of what we're saying, be aware of what's coming through. I will also add the fact that Uranus is in Mercury sign also. So this really speaks to that extra layer of emphasis to what we are about to focus on. And again, there's something about the potential of risks that need to be taken that are going to present themselves this week. We might not all decide on them this week. Human effect is it can be next week. However, opportunity to take a risk is on the horizon. I'm putting that again out there. Okay. Now, whenever it comes to the rest of the day, the moon is now in Virgo. It's just, again, practical. We have logical things to do. We have plans to work through, a lot of conversations to be had. But after the moon Uranus square, there's not a whole lot of direct transits. What we are dealing with is the buildup of other energies. Excuse me. Specifically, the sun and Jupiter are going to be perfecting its square all day long. So we want to be logical about the opportunity, about the possibilities of something, about what's coming through. And again, the Jupiter Sun square, it is building all day. It's not exact on Thursday, just to be clear, but that doesn't mean that we don't see something and experience something or feel something in the close proximity of exactness, even though we're not in the exactness. So I just want to be fair about that. The actual exactness is going to happen right after midnight as we get into the 17th. So here we are, October 17th. Here's the sun, 24 degrees, 6 minutes, and here's Jupiter, 24:6. It is exact from 12:25 to 12:48 a.m. Central Standard Time. That means the human effect of the Jupiter Sun squared, the downloads that are coming through, that energy, whether it's happening for you on Thursday or Friday, gives a boost in confidence. It gives a hopeful energy. We're thinking of something that can be fair for everybody. We're thinking of something that we can commit to. We're considering an opportunity. For some people, this is the arrival of an opportunity. It's just not one that we're quick to give an answer to. And the opportunity has layers because the opportunity can also help fix something else. It can help be a part of a long-term solution. It can help be a part of a long-term care. It can help be a part of a long-term energy towards healing a wound. Because even though the sun is in the exact square with Jupiter, it is still in its opposition to Chiron. And it will be building its opposition all day long. So understand the layer to the hopefulness, the risk again is necessary. However, that part of the human effect is playing out for you. The risk is necessary to help us heal something. We're going to keep it going. Oh, Jupiter square to the sun. We're going to be in it all day on Thursday. We are going to be in it all day on Friday. For a lot of people, we're going to be overthinking some kind of opportunity. Some of us are going to be very brash and curt, or we're going to be very critical about certain things without making a whole lot of sense. And that really kind of comes down to how we're dealing with the moon in Virgo, because the criticalness can also be overthinking another possibility that isn't quite clear yet. All right. Now, once we get into the evening time, specifically between 6:33, I got this now at 6:30, it's close enough. Between 6:33 and 6:56 p.m. Central Standard Time, the sun, 24:50, is going through its opposition to Chiron, 24:51. We are building to this all day. It's just the most exact in the evening time. And some of the opportunity, Jupiter square the sun, has the ability to help us fix something, heal something, overcome something, work through something, let go of the past, heal a certain kind of trauma. Sun opposite Chiron. So there is layers to the conversations. There are layers to the opportunity. There are layers to the recognition of what's coming through here. Now, as we continue into the evening time, between 7 and 9:30 p.m., so still with the Sun Chiron opposition going on, The moon in Mercury's sign is going to hit a sextile to Mercury. Again, as soon as the moon goes into Virgo, we need to pay attention to what Virgo rules for us, because that is emphasizing whatever is going on in this Mercury-Mars conjunction, the good, the bad, or the ugly. Mars is in the higher authority during this conjunction because we are in Mars's sign. So there can be disruption, but disruption can either be chaotic disruption or pivotal disruption. In the energy as we go through Friday evening, we're going to either know something that needs to be said, agreed upon, presented, put out there, that for some people, it is going to impact the body. It is going to be in a shift in the luck, or it can be an awareness, a disruptive awareness of something in the body. And I will again talk more about this in the closing to make this make sense. The reason I'm specifically going towards the body right now is because while the moon is in this sextile to Mercury, it is starting its actual conjunction to the south node. As we continue between 10 p.m. and midnight, so I'm just going to bump this now to that 10:30 range, the moon is making a conjunction to the south node. It is separated from its sextile to Mercury, but it is in the start of its sextile to Mars. This is actually going to go exact right around that 11 p.m. area, but it's a big part of the evening time. If you are going to have a physical health related reaction to the Mercury Mars conjunction, I feel like it's very likely to get triggered in some way Friday evening with this moon south node. And that's if it's a physical energy. If it is a spiritual energy of like, it's something that we need to tell somebody we're done with them, that we need to release them. We ain't going to be friends no more. We ain't going to talk no more. We're not working together anymore. I don't trust you anymore. I'm not supporting you anymore. It's more likely to happen Friday night with the moon south node conjunction. For other people, this is going to be committing to something that goes all the way back to eclipse season, because remember, Mercury rules one half of the eclipse axis with the south node going through Virgo. So again, what does Virgo rule for you guys? Because it's really playing into this vibration. Oh yeah, Friday night. That's just Friday night. Okay, we're going to keep it going. Now, we're done with Friday night for the most part. We're going to go ahead and get into the 18th. We're getting into Saturday. Now, the moon is still going to be in Virgo for most of the day. So again, what does Virgo rule for you? As we continue overnight, there's not a whole lot going on. Considering we still have that Mercury-Mars energy going on, there can still be disruption. There can still be arguments. There can still be tension. There can still be conversations. There can still be some overthinking of something that's about to get committed to, that we're going to agree to. Kind of depends again on how you're dealing with the moon in Virgo. If you're overthinking something, if you're analyzing something, if we're trying to get data on something, it really kind of depends on how you're handling this. As we get into the morning time, between 10:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., so I got this down at 11:30, Jupiter in the moon sign is going to hit the sextile to the moon. This is not heavy energy. Now, considering Jupiter is still in its square to the sun, it's separating. This can still feed into the prior energies of what's gone on throughout the week. Jupiter is building still in its square from Chiron. We're not exact on this yet. It's not going to go exact until next week, but there can still be some energies that are kind of playing in here. And in some ways, Jupiter is offering support. Jupiter is the doctor, the guru, the teacher. It's giving lessons. It's giving direction. It's giving support. It's talking about the past. It's talking about the hesitancy. Jupiter's putting themselves in your situation as to what's the best step forward. And again, getting guidance in that kind of situation. This is not the only transit that speaks to the need of guidance, especially from somebody that we respect or some kind of authority figure. We're going to keep this going. As we get into the afternoon, between 3 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I got this now at 3:30, the moon in Virgo, still in Mercury's sign, as Mercury's hitting this conjunction to Mars. I'm going to keep harping on that. The moon is hitting this opposition to Saturn. Saturn is retrograde, but Saturn is slowing down. And there can be questions of an authority figure, of an elder, of somebody who we consider to be the adultier adult, of a boss, about experience, about how they would handle a decision, about what's going on. For some people, it is going to be because of the elder. We experience a disruption because I'm looking at the fact that the moon is in Mars, Mercury sign as we're getting closer to this Mercury Mars conjunction. And again, if there's going to be something tied to the body, I feel like we're going to feel it more Friday evening, but we're still with the moon in Virgo here, so I'm not discounting it. You can also be hearing about some kind of change in responsibility over the weekend, hearing about it the most exact right here, but it's like hearing about the responsibility that we don't want anymore, or that we're going to be hearing about the decision of something that we don't necessarily support in the same way. There's layers to why I'm saying that, but it's still a part of the energy. All right, we're going to keep it going. After the moon goes through this opposition to Saturn, I still think there's a lot of overthinking. I still think we can have our head spinning about something, trying to come to terms with a certain decision, or trying to come to terms with certain information, trying to come to terms with a certain person in their situation. It can be another person. Throughout the rest of the day, at 11:02 p.m., so I'm just going to move up this now to 11:30, the moon is going to go into Libra. And as soon as the moon goes into Libra, it starts that opposition to Neptune. It starts that trine from Uranus and Gemini, and it starts its trine to Pluto. But the Neptune thing is the most exact. As soon as the moon goes into Neptune, there's something that's coming through that can speak back to what happened earlier in the week when Venus came into Libra, because that was how we started the week. And it's like, because of how the week is gone, now we're coming to the point that we need to talk about the thing that we're not clear about. We need to talk about that thing that's been confusing. We need to talk about somebody's vices. We need to talk about how somebody's distracting themselves. We need to talk about the symptoms. We need to talk about something because it's leading into something new that's going to begin, because now the moon is in Libra. And while the moon is in Libra, we're going to have a new moon in Libra. Are we going to have it on the 18th or the 19th? No, it actually happens next week. So it's not happening this weekend, but the moon is, as soon as it goes into Libra, we're in new moon vibration. And again, the ruler of said new moon hit this point of entering Libra earlier in the week. So there's some level of follow-up to the week energy that we have gone through, everything since Monday, that talks about something new, that talks about some kind of decision, that talks about some type of opportunity, that shows us the need for risk, helps us understand the need for risk, helps us understand the other side. It helps us face certain things. It helps us deal with something that has been an immediate part of the energy. And again, as soon as the moon goes into Libra, we are in new moon vibration, even though we are not yet in the new moon. So be aware of that. Let's keep it going. The moon in Libra right there between 11:30 p.m. on Saturday. You can see that right here. And bump it over to 1:30 a.m. on the 19th. So now we're on the 19th. The moon is in that opposition to Neptune the entire time. We are feeling this energy. There can be confusion, there can be nostalgia, there can be just some need to kind of like cloud our senses in certain ways. We might need an extra drink this night, a little extra smoky smoke. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, because we did that a little extra, it also helped us get clear on the things that we weren't understanding. So it was like a necessary evil in some ways. We're going to keep it going. Between this 11:30 p.m. and 1:30, we're also going through that trine with Uranus and the moon. This is actually more like midnight to 2 a.m., but you can see it exact right here. Here's the 0 degrees Uranus, 43 minutes. Here's the moon, 0 degrees, 45. There can still be some excitement. There can still be something about expect the unexpected. I don't know that we're going to keep having a bunch of expect the unexpecteds this week. I just feel like it's something in regards to the technology, and in regards to the excitement, and in regards to the unplanned. You could be learning about other people's stuff and what they're going through. And that's kind of the expect the unexpected, just to be clear. Or again, it was because of the prior energies, expect the unexpected, that has led into the result or the decisions of what's coming through now. Oh, the trine between the moon and Pluto is going to be felt the most exact between 12:30 and 2:30 a.m. So I got this now at 1:30, just bumped in an hour. Here's the moon, 1 degree 15. Here's Pluto, 1 degree 22. And this Pluto, it's still newly direct. So it's again the thing that we're going to commit to, the thing that we're dealing with now, the things that we're focused on now. It is helping us no longer deal with a power struggle the way that we were dealing with them once before. And this is a level of support. This is a level of aid. This is an extra level of healing. We still have the emphasis of wanting to take a risk or wanting to do something different. Opportunities have arrived or are about to arrive, and they're a part of a decision-making process. Mercury and Mars are building to their conjunction all day on the 19th. Depending on your time zone, it will either be exact on the 19th or be exact on the 20th, but it's still a part of the energy that we're in. Now, we're going to keep it going. When we get into the afternoon between 12:30 p.m. and 2:30, so got this now at 1:30, the moon is going to hit a conjunction to Venus. Venus's sign. The moon is going to hit a conjunction to Venus in Venus's sign. There's a commitment. There is an opportunity. There's a decision. What's fair to everyone? Talking about the aesthetic. How's it going to look? How's it going to taste? How's it going to feel? What's going to happen? This is happening while Mercury and Mars are entering their conjunction. This being the highlight of the vibration right now, the major highlight of the vibration right now. A lot of the meetings, a lot of the decisions, a lot of the appearance that we're talking about is all focused on this energy right here. Now, what's interesting is whenever the moon hits this conjunction to Venus, the sun is going through a quincunx to Saturn. So you can kind of see that right here. They're indirect of each other. They're not seeing eye to eye. And for some people, whatever thing that we're about to commit to, whatever thing that we're going to do, we are not going to have everybody's support. We're not going to have everybody understanding what we're thinking about, what we're talking about, or what we're going through, because it's not theirs to understand. And again, so much of the energy speaks to whatever we're about to commit to, whatever we're about to deal with, whatever is the disruptive thing here. A lot of this energy speaks to doing something that we wouldn't normally do. So if we're going to go against the grain, not everybody's going to understand it. It's like, why would you act this way? Why would you go in this direction? Why would you take this risk? Because it feels right. Now, again, with Mercury, Mars, I'm going to just go ahead and keep it fast forward all the way to that midnight hour to show you they get closer and closer and closer, but they are not going to go exact. I got this now, October 19th at 11:30. They are not going exact on the 19th for my time zone. They might be for yours, just to be clear. But you can see the Mercury-Mars conjunction. It is nearly exact. It goes exact just a couple more hours later. Like I said, it's right after that midnight hour. I got at 1:30 on the 20th. Here is whenever they actually go exact. However, just because they're not exact at this exact minute does not mean anything, because we are building and working with that vibration all week long, building to something all week long. There is a buildup, but it's not an anticipated type of buildup, but it can still leave us spiraling. It can still leave us overthinking some things. It can still leave us confused, and it can still leave us in a place where we have to consider more than we would normally consider, because I really feel like, and I wouldn't normally say this, it's necessary to take the risk this time, to do the thing that we wouldn't normally do, because that's how we find the opportunity. That's how we meet the next vibration of energy. That's how we meet the next person. That's how we get through the next lesson. And I'm going to warn this now, and I will warn it again next week. Where the Mercury-Mars conjunction happens, that 20-degree mark, that is also when Mercury enters shadow for his retrograde. We're barely over the last Mercury retrograde, and I'm already warning about the next one, have been the whole time. But a lot of what's playing through can tie back to what changed from the last one, because the last one directly impacted eclipse season. And the last set of eclipses was the more dominant eclipses, especially when it comes to the Virgo side, because we had the 2 new moons in Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo. So the onset of where we're going next, the disruption, the chaos, the decisions, the opportunity, the commitments, the filings, the challenges, the good, the bad, the ugly of whatever Mercury and Mars are doing, whatever this is, it goes back to eclipse season. And it sets us up for a series of conjunctions that will take place over the next 6 months. And if you want more details about that, go back and listen to the October month ahead forecast because I put it in the very beginning before we ever got into the dates. Now let's talk about what other ways that Mercury Mars can come through. Mars rules the head, anything above the eyebrows, basically, your skin, your blood, your sexual organs. Mars in Scorpio can be bringing up deep-seated desires. Some of them can be deep-seated beliefs and conspiracies. That can be Scorpio stuff. For other people, it's going to be sexual energy. That's going to be a lot of Scorpio stuff. Secrets, feeding into the fire, feeding into this energy, feeding into the communication, feeding into the decision, feeding into the conjunction. The deep-seated desires, feeding into the new. Mercury conjunct Mars. Now, it's not always going to be desire. There's other things that are going on. Let's talk about the potential of disruption from Mars into what Mercury rules. I'm going to go with the body here. Mercury rules anything on your body. I try to put Mercury and body together just then, and this came out like birdie. Anyways, Mercury rules anything on your body in duality. You got 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, limbs. Mercury also has rulership over most of your internal organs. Let's just be fair about that. Most of your digestive stomach energy, yes, Mercury stuff. If we get into the end of the week and we're having issues with the belly, that is the disruption you need to focus on because that means what could particularly be coming through later can have more to do with your health. So be aware of that. Just as much as Mercury can rule communication and travel and things related to those things, and we'll get to the travel thing here in just a second, it also has major rulership of the body. And there can again be something about what's been going on below the surface in the belly, a little twitch in your arm that finds its way into the disruptive energy of the present because that is going to be what you focus on for the next 6 months, is why your arm is twitching, why you're getting numb over here, why your hips are off, why your feet are off, why your legs are off. And that can be a part of where the energy is going to make you focus. Something physical in the body. Mercury rules transportation. As much as it rules that area of communication and everything related to communication, whether it is smoke signal, phones, handwritten, printed, serving papers, as much as it can be that too, it can also have to do with travel. Road rage. Mercury Mars can emphasize an increase of road rage this week. It can emphasize issues in and around our vehicles. Not wishing for that, making you aware of that. That's a possibility. And if we get into something that speaks to road rage this week, that can be the theme of what we start to focus on for the next 6 months. If we have a theme around a car issue, that can be what we start to focus on for the next 6 months. If we have some kind of commitment to travel somewhere, then that can be the theme of the next 6 months, or where you're going becomes the theme. Who you're traveling with, who you're traveling for becomes the theme. There's more than one theme, and we have to pay attention to all of them so we can then recognize the pattern again later. Because whatever starts to impact that October 19th and 20th, the next Mercury-Mars conjunction is in November when Mercury goes retrograde. Again, the first set of dates, Mercury goes into shadow. There are layers to this. And there's reasons why I'm saying it might be a necessary risk for us to take so we can finally learn the lesson. The lesson's probably going to come through in the Mercury retrograde. The way we end this week, the way we start the next week Mercury-Mars conjunction that includes Mercury entering shadow. Do I feel like we fully submerge into that alternative option of what we need to do? No. I think the awareness of trying something different, the opportunity to do something different, that is what presents itself in this energy this week. Not necessarily the full-on choice, the click of the button, the full frequency change of reality. I don't think that's this week. But I think the disruption to make us make the choice finds its way to the surface this week. Human effects, some people will make the choice this week. That Mercury-Mars conjunction, it's very tight on Sunday. It can also be a part of next week too. And we have even more going on next week. And Mercury-Mars is just one element of it, but it's a big one. And I want people to be aware that the energy that we are in this week, it is building into something that not all will go exact this week. But the awareness, the opportunity, the possibilities of a commitment, but not necessarily the full-on commitment, the possibilities towards an opportunity, but not full-on a seized opportunity, the possibility to do something differently, but not us fully choosing the different path, present themselves this week. And I want people to be aware, so that way, if you feel the need to try something different, to try something new, that's what we're supposed to do, is to do the thing we wouldn't normally do. But understand that it's a lesson. It's meant to teach us something. And that is the bigger part. If you commit to the lesson up front, knowing that some part of it we will come back to later on, it makes it easier to digest the lesson once we're in the energy. So be aware of that too. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I know this is going out a little bit later, but I was meditating on this for most of the weekend, and I wanted to make sure I had the right noise to this week, knowing that I have other noise coming in for next week that I don't want to put out there quite yet. So there's that. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.